Hello heathens, and welcome to my channel. I am Beauty Heathen and my channel is dedicated to the exploration of paganism. Sometimes I do ritual demonstrations, sometimes I do educational content through the medium of cosmetics, and sometimes I do readings on my channel. If you are new here, I welcome you. If you are a continued supporter, I thank you so much for your support. It truly means the world to me. If you haven't done so already, I would be eternally grateful if you would please like, subscribe, comment down below, and set that bell to all to be notified of when I release new videos. Today's video is going to be a bit of a quick one for a couple reasons. One, I am not an expert in this field. But two, I figured it might be a little beneficial to have a moment of introductory information, especially when you're doing candle magic. I know I've started instructing about that a little bit on my channel already. So I wanted to go over specifically what you can encounter and what different things may mean if you burn candles in glass jars like I've been using to demonstrate. So, in front of you, you see 3 jars. Each one has a different effect. Now keep in mind, each one of these jars was clear, completely clear initially. And after burning the candle, obviously these are cooled, they have different results on them. Here you see one that it has retained clarity with the exception of like a little soot spot right there. Here you have, granted, a lot of this is wax residue, so I'm not going to really count that for the purposes of determining the effect. But you can see also that there's some white smoke residue. That's not the black wax. So I will go over that. And this one is just a big old black mess with very little clarity down at the bottom, if you can see that okay. So, especially when you're getting into candle magic, it's important to educate yourself on how you know whether or not your petition has been heard or if you need to do additional workings beyond the candle that you've done. So this first candle was a peace candle, and when it burns down and the glass has stayed primarily clear, that means that your petition has been heard and there's no resistance to it. Now, as you can see, there was a little soot stain right there, but that means with it just being at the top and anything above halfway, it means that the resistance was beat and your request went through. When it comes to white smoke, which you can definitely see around the rim of the candle here, because the wax actually started, of this candle started right where this top line is. So above that, there's some white smoke residue. What that means is when I lit this particular candle, there was some sort of divine guidance or higher power energy that helped ensure that this petition went through. Now, if I recall correctly from this candle, just looking inside, I think that this was a clearing candle that I had done, with a black candle for protection as well. So because of that and the nature of it, higher energy beings or higher powers gave a bit of a boost to this request. And I think I had added in herbs of exorcism and things of that nature. I wanted a really strong clearing of my home and space. So granted, most of this is just candle residue. You can go ahead and wash these. As you can see down at the bottom here, there is the holder that was there for the wax, the candle that was inside of here. So before you try to wash anything like this, I recommend getting something long and sharp. It would have to be longer than this. I generally get basically a steak knife or a knife of some sort, and I put it all the way down to the bottom, and I try to loosen up and free that metal plate, and I throw that away. Because generally they're not reusable. Although that one might be. No, I think it's hard to tell while it's still in the glass. But you want to knock that off. For a glass like this, you might want to put it in a pot with some warm or hot water, preferably so that you can get the water inside the tube and then lay it down, and then be sure to use tongs or something. You want it to get all inside of here. This is for cleaning out the glass to reuse it. And then be sure to either dump it out and then take it out when it's clean. So you can just maybe wash it with some soap and water. I wouldn't recommend putting it in the dishwasher. One, you never know if these glass containers are dishwasher safe. Plus, you don't want this wax getting into your pipes. You can get all sorts of a mess if you do that. So I don't recommend doing that at all. I keep in mind that as the water in the pot cools, the wax that comes free from the glass will solidify, so it should make cleaning it up fairly quick. And then you can just discard the wax from there. And I do pretty much the same thing. Obviously the wax here is pretty much all at the bottom, so I would probably just stand it up to do that. Now let's come to the ugly stepchild. For those who have been watching my content thus far, many of you know that I was starting a candle for justice for the Black Lives Matter protests and in support and protection of the protesters. So the soot goes from here, solid black, until about here, until it gets a little bit cloudy, and down at the bottom you have some remnant wax and burned herbs. Now keep in mind, when I've instructed about doing Candle Magick, I've always been specific not to use too many herbs. And there's a reason for that. If you put too many herbs inside the glass, the herbs collect down at the bottom, and as the candle burns down, the flame from the candle can ignite the herbs down at the bottom, and it can cause the glass to overheat and crack, or sometimes, and I've had this happen once, explode. That's part of the reason why after I've lit candles, and especially once they start getting to a certain point, I make sure that if I have to leave them lit when I leave the house, I put them in my sink. Because if anything happens, I know there's nothing flammable in my sink. I know that everything will be contained, and if I need to put water on anything, it's right there. But I don't recommend leaving the house with your candles lit. That's not a smart thing to do. But as you can see, with all of this black soot, this is literally black soot. If I reach my finger in, you see that? What that means is this candle had a lot of outside resistance to it. Now, one thing to note when doing Candle Magick is, for every person that is doing Candle Magick to help, many more are doing Candle Magick on the other end of the spectrum, which is one thing that you especially learn from root work and communities like hoodoo, voodoo, and so forth, which, you know, a frequent thing is, well, if you all have been doing spell work all to help a specific situation, why hasn't it worked yet? And that's because there's always people on the other side who are workings on their side for their benefit. So now I can reuse this glass. I have to clean it out extremely well. It's going to take getting out the wax at the bottom, the burned herbs. It's going to take probably soaking it in soap and water for a while to make sure that the glass gets nice and clean, as well as scrubbing it out. But if ever you have a candle that has a lot of resistance to it, what that means is as it starts burning down to the bottom, you have to have ready to go a second candle. And if the same thing happens again, you may have to rework it somehow, either with different herbs, different intention, some way to reduce this resistance. Now, I have had this happen before just with peace candles. If you've been following my channel and paying attention to my content for a while, many of you will know why. But I have had peace candles that have been mostly black coming down. And what I did was I just kept lighting them until that dark section got lighter, until finally it was just like something like this, where it's just a tiny mark. So you know there's some resistance, but it's nothing too bad or too extreme as to prevent what it is you're requesting. When it's like this, this just basically means that I burned a candle to have it not work. This literally means that my candle didn't work because there was so much resistance or so many workings on the other side trying to help the other side that this did not go through. So you either have to keep burning candles until this black section lifts up a bit, or if you're like me and you have access to groups on social media where people are like-minded and everyone's pretty much willing to help you, sometimes it's beneficial to take a picture of what happened, post it to a group. I would recommend a closed group. I don't recommend posting anything like this to an open group or even a Facebook page, because then people will just keep working against you. But if you have a small group of friends who are practitioners, if you have found a pagan community of some sort that pretty much everybody's on the same page with the working that you're doing, it might be beneficial to take a picture of it, post it to the group and say, hey guys, can we all work together to try to lift this resistance that you see is going on. I did it for this purpose. If anyone's willing to chip in or help, I would greatly appreciate it. You never know, sometimes people will, sometimes people will ignore it, but it never hurts to ask. So, I did prepare and start a new candle. I did do a little boost and an adjustment to it, so hopefully that added assistance that I requested will help as well. So I just wanted to kind of go over that, as well as how you can reuse these containers. If you have a container like this, I wouldn't recommend just like sticking a new candle in it and restarting it, because you won't be able to gauge if the soot is less, because this is pitch black. You literally have to wash this before you can put another candle in here and try anything else in it. You also have to cleanse it either by putting it in salt or smoke cleansing it in some way. If you even have like Florida water, for an example, you may want to sprinkle it with that after you get it all nice and clean. Let it dry out really well so it's really well, not just soap and water clean, but energetically clean as well before you reuse it. Something like this, I would have no problem at all, especially where it's pretty clear, except for that one spot. What I'll probably end up doing with this is washing it, trying to get the wax out as best as I can, but it's not required. And take a candle, and I might even just, after I prepare it and everything, drop the candle in there. I wouldn't do that with the chime candles though. The chime candles require this kind of holder. They're not super expensive. I got these off Amazon for like, I want to say it was like $8 for 5. So it's not too bad. But burning chime candles, you really need a holder that can accommodate a chime candle. For these kind of candles, I would, no problem, take like one of these size candles that I bought in bulk from Amazon, and of course it won't fit. Of course not. So I might do like, I'm not going to shave it off or anything, but as you can see, these can fit very easily in the pull-out candle. Now I gotta wash or clean off the soot from this candle. But, any candle that is, I want to say this is about 2 inches in diameter. So if you got, oh, that's a perfect example. These are the crystal healing type candles that are about 1 inch diameter. These will fit in easily, and this way you don't need any sort of special holder. And as long as it's clear, you can just keep going with it as long as you want. Or if you're like me and you're a little bit overprotective. Clean out the wax as best as you can, clean up the glass, and start from there. So doing that, it may take a little bit extra time, it may be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you save money. I generally just keep reusing these as long as I can, so long as they don't break or I can't get them clean anymore, something like that. So I hope this quick little video may have given you some guidance with regards to how you know whether or not your candle is working. Keep in mind that a similar mentality can also be applied to, forgive the background noise, my puppy's being noisy, to chime candles as well, a little bit. As you can see, it just has a little bit of soot up there. That means there may have been a little resistance, but I know when I was burning this, the wick touched against here, so it's not even resistance, it's just a scorch mark. But yeah, there's all sorts of things I can talk about with regarding wax, any remnant wax at the bottom, all that kind of stuff, but I'll try to save that for another time, especially where I don't have anything to kind of like show and demonstrate with that right now. So maybe next time I do some sort of working with chime candles, I'll try to preserve it as it is so that I can give you some sort of information on that. So anyway, I hope this video finds you well. I hope it's a little beneficial. Please go ahead and let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions or concerns. And I will try my best to get back to you on those as quickly as possible. And with all of that said, I wish you the brightest of blessings. I wish you good health. I wish you protection beyond measure. And until next time, brightest blessings and blessed be.